What's up, Mad World? It's me, Coach Sess. Hey, just checking in with you guys today to talk about UFC 275, of the 3 fights from the top of the card, the championship fights, and then the Weili and JJ fight. You know, JJ could talk about all the reforms she's made and all the changes she's made. I just think Weili is that fighter that's in the picture for a longer period of time. I think she's that new face of the women's division going forward for quite a while, despite her ups and downs. Every fighter has those ups and downs. Amanda Nunes, Shevchenko's even lost, Holly, Ronda Rousey. So, and speaking of Ronda Rousey, you know, we have to thank Ronda Rousey for giving us women's MMA in the UFC, because without Ronda, we wouldn't see a card that has 4 women fights on it. And so, you know, Ronda Rousey is still an important figure in the history of mixed martial arts altogether. And but back to 275, I just think that Weili does her job and she moves on to that #1 position. Shevchenko against Talia Santos. I'm not sure what's going on where you see these fighters come from outside organizations and they get to the UFC and they were finishers in those organizations, and then they stop being finishers when they get to the UFC, or it takes them a while to get their stride back. But Shevchenko in her last 4 has finished 3 of her opponents. Talia in her last 4 in the UFC has only finished 1. I just believe Shevchenko has all the tools, more tools, and she's been in front of those bright lights. She's been a main eventer. She's been in the 5-round fights. I don't think Talia has that yet, and I think there's something to be said about when you're a main event somewhere else and you're a main event in the UFC. It's just it's a bigger production. We're talking fight week, and you know what happens in fight weeks. There's a whole lot of moving parts, and that can drain you out mentally. You're not used to it, and there's bigger stakes going forward, because you know you can have a great payday and great paydays going forward, or a great payday and then you're getting a side job at McDonald's. And I'm just using that as a correlation to show you what type of stress. It doesn't matter where the stress comes from. It's just that it's a high elevated level of you know, endorphins going on, or you know, it could be a form of depression. You don't know, but you've got to deal with it. Remember Oliver McCall when he had his breakdown of the fight, and just for some inexplicable reasons just started walking around crying. You know, it's a lot of stress that goes into fighting, and you don't know how each fighter adapts to the situation. Physically, skill set wise, physically she has some things that could give Valentina problems, but just looking at the entire scope, the entire spectrum, I don't think she comes out victorious in this one. Glover and Yuri, I just think Glover has the skills to take Yuri down, keep him down. I think people have taken Yuri down, but they haven't been able to keep him down. Glover is going to keep him down. Glover has so much UFC experience, it's ridiculous. Yuri's only got maybe 2 or 3 fights in the UFC. Another thing about Prochazka is he reminds me of Bob Sapp. He's one of these guys that comes in, has all this power. He's swinging people around, he's jumping, he's turning, and he's just got this amazing, chaotic skill set. But, you know, when you run into a quality champion like Glover, who's able to calm himself down and shut all that down, I just don't think it's going to have the impact that he believes it's going to have. I just don't see him winning, and I tend to take the Royce Gracie route. I asked Royce Gracie one time, who do you like in the UFC? And he said, until they lose, I like the champions. And so I like the champions in this context for this particular event. So that's my picks from the top. Glover, Valentina, and Weili. Even though that's not a championship fight, it is a #1 contenders fight. So I like Weili returning to the championship scene. Let me know who you got. You know, who are your picks. Hey, look, I am Coach Sess. Had words with the Mad Coach.